So welcome guys to the channel that brings you Mark II and Mark III content. In today's video, we'll be covering Tim's Windsor Blue Mark II GTI 16V big bumper 90 spec car. And as you saw in the first part, we did the clutch and a few mechanical bits and the bumpers and stuff. So it's worth checking that out if you haven't seen that. So now it's all about making the engine bay look as pretty and as nice as possible, and to show you what can be done by plating, powder coating and aqua blasting to make the engine, really shine. So I'm going to be really excited to show you guys, and I'm going to enjoy taking this thing apart and putting it back together again, and it looking totally different. So let's crack on, and I'll show you what steps have been done so far. Okay, so it looks very different as it did in part one, when I literally put the gearbox and the clutch on. The reason why I did that was just to make sure everything was working fine with the clutch, and then I took it all apart. So now, as it stands now, obviously the inlet manifold, as you can see, is off, because that's been sent off to get aqua blasted. There's our switches that I changed for the coolant temp ones, like I said, for the idle valve, the dashboard, and for the ignition ECU. What I've done is also on this side, you can see the difference already. I've taken off that wax that kind of drips down. As you can see on this side, it can be a real pain getting this wax off. So with a kettle, it does make life a lot easier. So that side has been done, this side will be done. Also now, before I go to the platers, I'm going to take this bracket off as well and take the starter motor back off again and put a brand new fresh starter motor. This one was a bit lazy, so I'm just going to put a brand new one on there. And also the bolts, I've got a spare set of bolts. I'm going to get those plated as well. Now we're going to move over. I'm going to show you all the bolts. So these are all the bits that I took off the engine. And literally what I've done is I put it in a solution that actually eats away. This hasn't been sandblasted or even wire brushed. This has just literally been left in solution overnight, and this is how it comes up. It's really good kind of solution that I use. So this is literally everything. So here you've got the fuel lines, and also the main feed and return that goes to the metering head. That's that bracket where the earth strap goes onto. Those are the two brackets for the inlet manifold at the back. The accelerator cable, literally everything, even the little accelerator clips that hold it on. These are all the fuel injector, metering heads, fuel lines, and also for the fuel pressure regulator, the catch and the latch. Literally everything's going to get done on this, so it's going to look all tip top. So the next job, as you saw, it's all stripped down and that stuff's going off to the platers. So before I drop that off to the platers this morning, I'm going to do the fuel tank straps. The fuel tank straps, they generally rust, so you can actually clean them off and repair them. And I don't know where Tim has got these from, but he's been able to source somebody's, I think, remanufactured in stainless and then just powder coated them. I don't know where he's got them from. If I can find out before the video goes out, I'll put it in the link in the description. They look pretty good. So I'm just going to kind of press on with this and kind of get those old ones off and get these new fresh ones on the car. They actually weren't that bad. I don't know why Tim is actually going for it. I can understand he wants it perfect. They are a little bit rusty, but that could clean up. I don't think you should actually throw them away because they're original. I think they'll clean up quite well actually. But anyway, so I've got the old ones off. It's going to be in the process putting these brand new ones on. So I've turned up this morning to be greeted by this. It's absolutely amazing what Tim's done. I'm really excited. I'm really looking forward to kind of stop putting these aqua blasted bits and these plated bits back onto this Windsor Blue Mark II 16V GTI big bumper car. Wow, that is a mouthful. He's done an amazing job, as you can see. I mean, there's no runs, there's no dust, there's very little orange peel, and if there is, it looks really OEM, the orange peel on it. And he's not even a sprayer. He's just a man with a bit of knowledge and a little bit of skill, and he's done it himself. So thumbs up to Tim. I couldn't do that. I'm not a sprayer by any stretch of the imagination. Like I said, I'm really excited. So let's get on, and I'll show you these aqua blasted bits. Really, really nice. This is literally, like I've said before, the icing on the cake, the cherry that goes on top of the cake. So here's the stuff from the platers, and here's the stuff from the Aqua blasters. So I'll show you. This is, from what I can tell, it's going to be the inlet manifold. Look at that. It looks absolutely beautiful. And like I said, this isn't painted. This is actually the natural aluminium colour, just with the glass bead. That's what it looks like. In there has all been done. I don't know if you'll be able to see it in there. There you go, at that angle. And in there as well. So what I'll do is probably get some blue paint to paint the DLC back in. Twin cam. But yeah, so that's that. And I think we should also have in here the lower half. Look at that. This stuff is amazing. The finish on it. I mean, even these copper bits, look at the way it came out. Looks like it's new, looks better than new. I don't think when they're new they've all got this kind of casting imperfections that kind of come through the alley. And this stuff literally doesn't actually take any material away, literally just cleans it. It's absolutely amazing the finish on this. And then I think the last one is the rocker cover. And the inside, that's so, and like I said, the problem is when you sandblast these things, the media from the sandblasting can sometimes actually get inside the aluminium. And then I've known people that have actually done the rocker covers, and then the engine actually has an issue because the aluminium can be quite porous and the bits can kind of get inside it, and then as the engine warms up, the alley opens up, the actual sandblasting falls into the engine and damages it. But with this glass bead Aqua blasting, that isn't the case. So wow, it's going to be this engine's going to look absolutely amazing. And then here in the box is all the bits from the platers, and that's also the throttle body. Tim's actually got taken apart by Tim and actually all put back together again, all plated up. He's done a beautiful job here. Looks really, really nice. So I've got these bits and bobs bolted on. It looks so different. I was able to find, Tim actually did this himself, got a steady hand and painted that. So these are all plated as you saw in the box, fit them all on, the fuel lines, the metering heads. That gave that a good clean. It's all been powder coated, the cowling, the slam panel, and a few other little bits and pieces. This metal pipe's been also powder coated, and the original front engine bracket there has been done as well. Gave that a good clean. Looks almost like a new bottle. Looks so different. So this is it really. All I've got left to do now is just to put on these connectors and then just kind of get the front grille on now, because I'll show you what's been done to that. The red line, kind of vinyled a new red line on it, and also the GTI 16V badge, vinyled that up as well, so it looks all fresh. So we've come to the end of a long journey, which was only supposed to be a short journey of tidying up this engine bay. But we've realised most things, we got carried away, and Tim also got carried away, and I got carried away. So we've sprayed the inside of the chassis legs, which were rusty, sorted out the bit of rust as well that was on the bottom of the battery tray, replaced the clutch, the starter motor, the fan cowling, all the good bits, powder coated all these bits, aqua blasted all of this stuff, and this is the finished product. It looks so good. I mean, these Mark IIs now, they've all shot up in value, and I mean, they were great cars when they were built, and that kind of really shows that they've lasted so long and so well, and there's so many of them. But still, a good tidy example like this is really hard to come by. And a lot of people actually overlook the K-Jet and maybe don't know how to deal with K-Jet, or don't even replace the simple things with K-Jet. K-Jet has a certain sound which I personally really quite like a lot. Replace the injectors. The injectors nowadays for these K-Jet ones are probably the same price as a set of Iridium plugs on a more modern car. I mean, it made such a difference. Tim already noticed the idle was a lot more stable. The performance was a lot better, a lot more responsive, as well as, you know, we timed it up as well. We put it at about 8 degrees instead of the 6 degrees, gives it a little bit more torque and a little bit more bite, kind of revs a lot nicer. I mean, this looks like it literally just rolled out of VW in 1989. I mean, it brings back so much memories for me because I was actually at the dealership in the late 80s. So this to me looks like I've literally stepped back in time. The way this engine bay looks, it looks better than I actually remember them when they were new and working on them at the dealership in St John's Wood, Dovercourt. So even the sound of these, it even sounds new when you close the bonnet on this. Sounds amazing. So even closing the door just sounds so like solid. I mean, this is a nice place to be in the Mark II Golf. You know, for a car that's 30 years old, it's not like being in an old Peugeot 205. Sorry, Peugeot 205 owners. But it's definitely stood the test of time very well. Okay, so let's start it up and see what this sounds like. So the first thing that strikes me about these Mark IIs, being a car that's 30 years old, is how well screwed together this car is. There's no rattles or no squeaks, nothing loose. The trim's all well put together. And this is a really tidy example of this car. Okay, let me through, thank you very much. And then the next thing you notice is actually how torquey this ABF is. The Mark II 16 valve actually came with a shorter ratio gearbox than the 8 valve. I think the only difference really was 5th gear was 19.9 for every 1,000, whereas the 8 valve had a slightly longer 5th gear. So it's got a really nice gearbox, short gaps in between the gear changes, and it's actually really perfect for the car that weighs 990 kilos more or less, and now give or take 160 horsepower and about 140 odd foot of torque. With this short gearbox, it's really quite nice, and the Bilstein suspension on this really is a pleasure to drive. So let's take this on some B roads and give it some stick. Look at that K-Jet. Sounds absolutely amazing. So with the added torque of this ABF and the short ratio gearbox, it's almost, you can do every corner in 3rd or 4th. There's just so much torque and response. Listen to that K-Jet. Nice bit of straight road, stretch the legs, drop it to 3rd. Woo! That's some silly speed right there, really. Doesn't take too long. And you can carry a lot of speed in this as well with these light cars. I'm in 5th gear and it just literally does all I want it to do. Just carry speed. You don't really have to even wring its neck out really. It is obviously more rewarding, but with this bigger engine and the lighter car, look at that, it's 5th gear. So we've taken it for a test drive and I've ragged the nuts off it. I love that K-Jet sound of the airbox and just the responsiveness of the K-Jet compared to the Digi, the original system. It's night and day. It's really, really good. So this is the main man, this is Tim, and you've seen one of his other cars on the video that's supercharged.
I think we need to get that on the show at some point again, shouldn't we?
Do you want it back on the show?
Let's do it, why not?
I think so,
Maybe
a bit more in depth.
Strip down and rebuild, I think.
Strip down?
Yeah.
Wow. Anyway, so he's really happy with the car. He's done a great deal. Together we've worked really quite well on this project, finishing this car. I think Tim wants to sell the car, doesn't he, unfortunately?
Yeah, it'd be sad to see it go, but I think it'd be nice to see it go to a good home. You know, somebody else who is just like us, loves Mark IIs.
And I think they're getting a good car. It's a really solid car.
So. I mean, for me, just biggest surprise has been the injectors and how much of a difference that makes to engine smoothness. It's like, even though before it looked like it was sitting at the bottom of the sea, the engine, now the smoothness with a fresh set of injectors really makes a difference. Yeah.
You know, it's the price of basically, you know, a set of iridium plugs nowadays. So it's silly not to do it on such an old car. A lot of people chase their tail with these K-Jets, and you know, oh, they don't work properly, they don't idle properly. I mean, just change the injectors. They're so cheap and cheerful almost to actually sort that out. As well as there was also a few air leaks, like you saw on that intake pipe where it'd been over crimped. That also causes a lot of K-Jet issues as well. You know, the system needs to be kind of airtight so that the vacuum works properly on lifting up the plunger. That also makes a big deal on it as well. And probably another bit the injectors also helped is the O-rings that the injectors sit on. They wear as well.
Yeah, the ones that the original injectors, they were completely compressed.
Okay.
And worn, yeah.
Yeah, so again, it's going to suck from there. So you're going to lose idle stabilization and smoothness and all that from there. It's going to run a bit lean due to that as well. So as you saw, this wraps up another video. Hit Tim up on his Instagram. What's your Instagram link?
Octane Barn, @Octane Barn.
And that'll be in the description. Thanks for watching. Keep safe, ding-a-ling-a-ling. Click that notification bell to beat the YouTube algorithm.